and that I am Reverend Linda Zupan, the Associate Minister here at Crystal Coast Unity. This morning, we finish our talk series, Living the Truth, based on the book Why Good Things Happen to Good People, written by Stephen Post, PhD, and Jill Niemark. Ms. Niemark is a widely published science writer, and Dr. Post is a bioethicist and medical professor who is also the founder and president of the Institute for Research on Unlimited Love. We opened our exploration 5 weeks ago on the first Sunday in March. Over and over and over again, my eyes and my heart have been opened to view my life from the context of giving as loving. And I hope that your eyes and your heart have been opened as well. It's been fun sharing this information, and I want to thank you for taking the journey with me. I hope that my stories have been a catalyst for you to shape your own as gifts to yourself and to others, because we all have stories of demonstrated love, and these stories fill our hearts and gladden our souls. We are the authors, the tellers of our stories, and so we can shape them however we choose. So, are you ready to hear the final installment of Why Good Things Happen to Good People? The exciting new research that proves the link between doing good and living a longer, happier, healthier life. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So this morning, we're going to be talking about the way of listening and the way of creativity. Dr. Post tells us, quote, "Genuine presence is deep listening. To listen to another is to honor their deepest being. Simply being present with loving attention is one of the most life-altering forms of love. By listening, we participate in the full spectrum of another's life experience. We give the gift of radical receptivity. Listening is marked by a profound and quiet attention that is the epitome of love. The mere act of listening, even though it seems to contain no action, often liberates others to move on with their lives. When we are listening, our silence is a more potent expression of love than our speech." End quote. I have found that listening is sometimes hard work, definitely worthwhile, and yet it is still work. And perhaps, like me, you found that there are aspects of listening that are innate, and others that require education, practice, and refinement. For instance, I sometimes find that rather than truly listening to another, I'm simply waiting for my turn to talk. And sometimes I even find myself preparing my response in advance of their words, assuming I know exactly what they're going to say. Not listening, polite maybe, waiting my turn, not listening. Dr. Post reports that genuine listening has the following benefits. According to recent research, listening activates the part of our brain that is hardwired for empathy. When we listen to others in pain, their stress response quiets down and their body has a better chance to heal. When we listen and are listened to, we begin to feel secure in our relationship with another and confident that that person will provide loving care in times of need. Love in the form of listening is vitalizing for the spirit. Listening works because we're hardwired to include others with whom we bond in our sense of self, even when they're different from us. And as an incentive benefit, Dr. Post speculates that the future of our world may literally depend upon listening. And he reminds us, listening starts at home very early. Dr. Post writes, quote, "Opportunities to listen are woven into our days minute by minute and hour by hour. All we really need to do is be quiet and offer an ear. Sometimes we listen by attending to another's body language, tone, and facial expression. This is especially true with the very young and the elderly. The love in listening is this accessible. Just pause and attend. When you allow yourself to be still and present, you find yourself able to answer another's space and to feel what they feel. Listening is a source of genuine empathy." End quote. The first of 5 lessons from the frontiers of research is mirror others. Dr. Post tells us about current brain research focusing on mirror neurons. This is our primary connection point to another's pain and suffering, both physical pain and emotional pain. Hardwired into our brains in a region called the anterior cingulate cortex, we can cultivate our ability for empathy through focused practice in listening. In Lesson 2, Expand Who You Are, Dr. Post reminds us that when we understand others, we tend to like them. Research shows that in listening to another, we often make them part of who we see ourselves to be. In that way, not only do we better understand them, we also begin to dissolve those barriers between us and them. Listen and Feel Better, Lesson 3, describes new research that shows compassionate listening can improve the health of the listener even in the face of serious illness. They did a 2-year clinical study looking at the efficacy of teaching the use of coping skills versus receiving monthly phone calls from a trained compassionate listener with the same chronic illness. And it turned up the intriguing result that the role of listener provided more measurable value than that of being listened to or of being trained in coping skills. This was an important ancillary finding. It was not even part of the original planned study. So I want to repeat that. The listener, the giver, received the most benefit in the form of reduced physical pain in their serious illness. Lesson 4. Listen with your whole body. In this section, Dr. Post writes about how listening can be a visceral experience, and that often our full presence, our focus, is in and of itself healing to the one to whom we listen. We each know how disconcerting it is to be talking to someone whose attention doesn't really seem to be on us, whether our conversation is in person or on the phone. And I believe that we each have also had the experience, the connective experience, of having somebody fully listen to us with all of their being and all of their attention. And the 5th and final lesson on listening is look to the very young. Again, something that we already know experientially, confirmed by science. We often hear stories right here in this sanctuary about listening to our children and our grandchildren and the wisdom that they have to share with us. And it turns out that studies confirm conversations have 2 active participants, the talker and the listener. Listening is not a passive role. It requires energy and connection and attentiveness. One researcher reports that her own experience as a mother has taught her that respectful listening to her toddler minimizes behavioral problems. She says that 2 or 3 minutes in the morning translates into many, many minutes saved during the day that follows. And speaking of young parents, Summer Ricketts and her husband Taylor are relatively new members of Crystal Coast Unity. Summer serves on our board, and Taylor is on the Admin and Finance Committee. In our previous sermon series on Unity's 5 foundational principles, Summer was scheduled to share her experience of Principle 3, I Create, but that plan got a little derailed when her dad made his transition. Fortunately for all of us, Summer has agreed to be our connecting point between the listening lesson, Look to the Very Young, and our next section, The Way of Creativity. Summer?
So I'm going to share with you this morning some things that I've learned about creativity. Let's see. Yeah, go ahead. This is a lesson in creativity from my daughter, Olivia. She's 19 months old today, and she is the most joyful creator I know. She's always showing me how to be a truer expression of the loving spirit that we are. In fact, Olivia has been teaching me about creativity since long before she was born. Years before she took physical form, she was a clear image in my mind. I did countless drawings and paintings of her. And that's how we create everything in our lives, is an image held in mind as our intention, charged with positive emotion. It effortlessly takes form every time. Our creative ability, it resides in our access to imagination. As we tap into imagination, the realm where all ideas live, we do so by feeling really good. So last month I needed to feel good, and I took a vacation. We got away, my husband and I, for 10 days, and we felt amazing. We spent 10 days feeling so good, and in so doing, we gained amazing clarity and insights on some major life decisions. It's like we literally changed the channel on the TV. From bad news to discovery and adventure. By spending time feeling intensely good, that is, by sustaining a high frequency emotion, we are gaining access to more resources. We are lining up ourselves with more ideas, money, fulfilling relationships, business opportunities, and a lot more fun. It is with great clarity and joy, like surfing a powerful wave, that last month I became the race director for a first ever kids triathlon happening here in June. And I feel stuck behind the podium. Are there any other surfers in the crowd? Even 30 years ago counts. Anybody ever been surfing? Okay, some hands. Right? So, much like, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Much like seeing a small ripple on the horizon. Is that for real? Is that really coming my way? Is it taking form? Yes, there it is. It's coming. It's bigger. We align ourselves. We begin to paddle in to add our creative momentum to the experience. And in the right time, we catch the wave of creation. And I know that when you come across an idea whose time has come, the entire universe rallies around in support of its becoming. All we have to do from that point is to maintain that alignment with the source of our creative power and enjoy the ride, riding the wave of creation. Now, as a first-time race director, whenever I begin feeling bogged down, overwhelmed in to-dos, I practice immediately shifting my focus to a joyful future memory that restores my energy, my clarity, and well-being. And it is this. It first came to me while I was feeling really good, swimming. And then again while I was walking on the beach. And then again while I was hiking a nature trail. And I go to it again every time to realign with my creative power. I am so grateful to high-five all of those happy, sweaty kids on race day as they come across the finish for the first time. I am thankful for that future memory that aligns me with the I am power that I am. That's all I need is to regain alignment. Which images can you call on to restore your energy, your creative power, and your joy? Now, I'm going to share with you, I'm going to leave you with a gift from Olivia. She's been giving me art lessons in the morning. She'll crawl into my lap while I'm using my dry erase board to write my gratitude list, and she scribbles with great gratitude on my dry erase board, and we co-create beautiful images together. So she's been teaching me how to create, and here are 3 key takeaways. 3 ways to enhance your pleasure, okay? And that is your creative power. Your pleasure is your creative power. Did you know that? The artistic impulse. Oh, this is good. Okay, so your artistic impulse, the sex drive, your desire for knowledge, the power that creates worlds, the power that raised Jesus from the dead, lives now in you and in me as creativity. So here are 3 ways to enhance your creative pleasure. Lessons from a 1-year-old. First and foremost, play. Ignore rules, experiment, and get curious. Practice making mistakes joyfully, beautifully, and readily. It's like drawing with applesauce on the carpet. You don't know what's going to happen until you try it. Going diaperless, or even taking a new route home. That's where the growth happens. Play first, especially in areas where you consider it to feel like work. Play, and you'll be surprised at the creative results you get. Second, the next picture. Cultivate stillness. What is it that restores you? What is it that helps you connect with the deepest part of yourself? My practice has begun leading me, instead of searching for the internet for solutions. Instead, I'm learning to go inward for my guidance and to trust completely in what comes. My daughter loves screen time and electronic toys as much as anybody. But our most joyful and present moments happen when we are not distracted by our devices, when we are not distracted by a too busy schedule. It's important to allow that space, that open margin for what wants to be created.